just wanted to make a short video about how I program synths. In this case, I want to try and recreate a synth from a track called Lost in Paris by Tom Misch. Basically what I'm going to do is listen to these two samples that I've got from the track, then I'm going to pull up a synth and basically try and recreate it to the best of my ability. And whilst I'm doing that, I'm going to explain the different elements of a synth and basically how I get around to achieving this certain sound that I'm going to have a stab at. So let's get right into the sample. Cool, let's listen to the second clip.
Need you now, the key that I won't forget, but you're lost in Paris. I hope that you're
Cool. Another thing we can do to maybe help us out, we can put a wee EQ on this track and try to take out the low end, because the synth is coming out through like the mids and highs. So let's just see if that works.
need you now, the key that I won't forget, but you're lost in Paris. I hope that you're
Cool, so listen to these tracks. I've got some idea on how it's made, but I think it's important to try and actually learn the chords to this, because when you're trying to recreate it, it's good to have the exact right harmonies, because then you might just get a bit confused. So let's just pull up a nice keyboard. So I would just do Command Alt S, and we're going to pull up a nice keyboard. Let's just get the keyboards. Let's do this. Let's use the Tesco synth. The reason why I call it the Tesco synth is because if you play any arpeggio, it just sounds like one of them. I'll just show you. We have a discount on beans. That's all. Anyways, I'm going to try and learn this synth, so if you just give me 2 seconds. I think that's it. Cool, now that we've got the chords, I'm going to pull up a synth. In this case, this synth I'm going to pull up is Serum. That's just my personal preference. If you've got another type of synth, that's perfect, as long as it's got a feature in which you can use your oscillators, your envelopes, a filter. Most synths have these. In fact, if you use Logic, you could easily just use like an ES1 synth, which has basically the same stuff, because you've got your filter here, you've got your oscillators, you've got your cutoffs and stuff, you've got your different waves. Basically, what I'm going to do is explain everything in a more broader sense, and then you can maybe interpret that with your own synthesizers that you use. But if you use Serum, that's also very good. So we're just going to jump back on to Serum. So listening to the track again.
now, the key that I won't forget, but you're lost in
Again, an idea in which oscillator I'm supposed to use. Something I've been thinking about is that it's a cross between a sine wave and like almost a saw wave. So let's see if there's any of those that have that kind of, basically what it is like a buzziness, but also it's quite soft. That's too buzzy, so I'm just gonna have a look at the different oscillators I have at my disposal in this program. Cool, I think I'm going to go with this JNO oscillator because it sounds nice and buzzy, but I think it's still quite soft. Hopefully you could hear that properly. I might turn up the master just slightly. Cool, next I'm going to just do my envelopes. So for this, I'm going to have a listen to the track again.
You're lost in Paris.
Cool. I could immediately tell that there's a little bit of attack in that sound. Basically, attack is how long it takes for an initial sound to be at its highest, and if you increase the attack, it takes longer for that sound to happen, and then if you decrease it, the faster it will be. So if I just exaggerate it. Yeah, so I think there's a little bit of that in that sound that Tom Misch made, so I'll just do that. Next, I'm going to check again about the sustain and decay. Yeah, so I'm gonna just take the sustain right down, and I'm gonna increase the decay about this much. See how that sounds. I know this is important that we've learned the chords. Okay, so that's becoming very bare bones, but I think there's a lot of other things we can do. Let's move on to our filter. If we see if we could put a low pass filter on. Let's see what the MG24 would be, because it's a bit more depth. Right, let's try it. I'm going to test if the filter is being manipulated in the sound using even like a second envelope or an LFO. I'm just going to have a check.
The key that I won't forget, but you're lost in Paris.
Have a look. Yeah, I'm getting a feeling that a second envelope might be being used to control the filter cutoff every time the notes are being hit. So what I'm going to do is just copy the first envelope over to the second envelope using just Alt, and I'm just going to exaggerate it slightly more, almost like a shadow over the first envelope. And then what I'm going to do is send that envelope over to the cutoff frequency just by clicking and dragging. And then now we have this little blue line across our cutoff that basically tells us how much the envelope is changing the cutoff frequency every time you hit the note, so it'll sound like this so far. Which is kind of cool, but obviously that's way too much. I'm going to see if I can turn that down a bit more. That's just by holding Alt. Let's see. Let's see if I can stick on keyboard tracking. Oh, okay. Next, we'll try and see if we can add some further modifications to the overall sound. So something I like to do is use an LFO to control the fine pitch of the oscillator. So like the fine pitch is like how much the pitch is going slightly sharp or slightly flat. In this case, this is going to be very exaggerated because that blue line is indicating how much it's going to be changed basically. See, so it's got that like really wavy feeling, but what I want to do is try basically create a vibrato effect by just turning that down all the way to at least 5, which is a nice color. So I'm going to just turn the rate of that up by 1/16. The second thing I normally like to do is take a second LFO and basically take it to our filter. By doing that, you just drag, is maybe change the shape to a basic sine wave. So let's do that, and then cool, and then turn up our signal. See how much I'll do. Let's try -10, and let's see if I can create a further vibrato effect. That's cool, but that's not right. So let's just check. Oh, I didn't set it to level, that's why. Basically, if you set it to level, it's basically telling you how wet you want the effect to be, and if you set it to mix, it's like a mix between dry and wet. So if we set it to level, it basically says I'm going to take the wet and see how less I can put it, rather than mix it between dry and wet. So if we play it, it's kind of got that further vibrato effect. It's giving it more body in the synth, essentially. Okay, at this stage, I want to try and listen to the synth again.
Paris. I hope that you.
Cool. Let's have a little play. I think we're getting closer. The only thing I'm thinking that I don't have is this kind of note sliding effect. There's many ways of doing that, but the easiest is obviously just adding a little bit of portmanteau time in your synth. If your synth doesn't have that, there's hundreds of different ways you can find out yourself, but let's just have a look. think that's us almost there. Another thing I'd like to try do is maybe make the synth sound a little bit more analog by adding some noise. Basically what I want to do is just have like a really, really light, almost records effect on the synth. So we're just going to have a little look through the noise options and see what's best for that. Cool, so what I've decided on is this kind of J60 noise preset, and instead of using it as like a basic level that masks the entire sound, I didn't really like that, because I feel like it just was really weird when you were trying to go to the next chords. So instead I made the noise affect the oscillator itself by using this kind of wrap like modulator, I guess, and set that to FM noise, which basically links to this noise bit, take the level down, and then basically what it does is affect the overall oscillator. So let's just play it. See, like that's it exaggerated, but I like how it hides under the note. So that's it with it, and then this is it without. Like everything sounds really clean, and I don't like that in this synth in particular. So if you're gonna make something sound a little bit more analog, I think this would be my preference. Okay, so next I'm gonna just go back to the envelopes and just kind of fine tune it by ear. Cool. I think I'm gonna try and play this in this particular part of the sample to see how it mixes in with the song.
Need you now, the key that I won't forget, but you're lost in Paris. I hope that you're
Cool, I think we're getting very, very close. The next step would be adding some effects. So the first thing I want to do is just add some distortion, because I think there's definitely a little bit there. I'm going to use a soft clip distortion because I just don't want to overpower the sound too much. And we're just going to I'm just going to turn down the mix a little bit and mix it up to taste. Next, I want to try and just put a little bit of EQ on that synth. Might want to take out some of the gain to see or some of the low end just to see how it goes. Cool, and then I want to just add a little bit of reverb, and I don't want to overpower the reverb a little bit because I think it will be really big. Yeah, so what I'm going to do is just turn down the size. Yeah, I think that's mostly it. Let's get a compressor on the go and see how that works. Alright, so I think I just recreated the synth to the best of my ability. Obviously I'm going to go back to this and spend a lot more time fine tuning to get it almost perfect, but at this point I think we just made a very, very good foundation. I hope you found this very educational. This was just a little bit of fun for me, and normally I like challenging myself by doing these kind of things in a DAW and messing around with programming synths that way. I really, really recommend doing this if you ever want to pick up synths. Find a random track with a cool synthesizer, go in, try and dissect what it is, the characteristics of the synth, what would you think the attack would be, what do you think the decay and the sustain, what kind of oscillator you should use, is there a type of filter that you should use, how is it modulating in sound, and then once you've got that, building your own synths is a piece of cake. It's like that whole kind of imitation innovation idea. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. I definitely found it quite fun to do, and yeah, have a good day.